I think this is how a lot of people feel with Justin Jefferson. Brian says, bro, I'm so fed up with waiting on Jefferson. I almost want to trade him out of frustration. I completely understand where you're coming from, right? I mean, I was operating under the assumption that we were getting Justin Jefferson back this week. I mean, whenever I made the rankings videos, when I ranked Jefferson, when I ranked Addison, I was just assuming that he was good to go because, I mean, a lot of people were saying he would have been good to go last week if it wasn't for the injury. I don't know. I mean, if you are going through and looking to trade him, exactly what Matt's saying here, the offer is going to be low garbage and you're pretty much stuck just waiting for him to come back. I'd be interested to know if you can pull something off. I'd be interested to know exactly what that deal looks like. My base level assumption is like you waited this long for him, right? So if you waited this long for him in the first place, you're probably better off waiting for him to come back than you would be to go out there and try to sell Jefferson at this point. While, yeah, it's frustrating that we're not getting him back this week, at least we can say this Minnesota Vikings team is still competitive. I mean, if they would have lost the past 2 weeks, then maybe you could have said, well, Mason, come on, man. He has absolutely no incentive to rush himself back whatsoever. But with the Vikings winning 5 games straight, they're currently sitting at 6-4. They're going up against Denver in a very winnable game this week. So, I mean, you could see them going out there and you could see them winning yet again. You could see them going to 7-4. This team looks like it will be a playoff roster. So, with Jefferson practicing all last week, with him practicing all this week, of course, I said it this week and I was wrong, but I'm operating under the assumption that we are going to get Justin Jefferson back next week at the latest. Like, please let me know, ladies and gentlemen, if you are completely giving up. I'm not giving up. It's frustrating that he's not back this week, and you do start Addison, you do start Hawkinson. But ultimately, I think you are going to be fine if you have Jefferson. Let me see if we have any other injury updates as we go ahead and pull up any questions that we may have. So Frymuth activated. Looks like Frymuth is going to be good to go. But outside of that, really, I think we've talked about everything here. Rico Dowdle downgraded to questionable. I thought he was doubtful. Was he not doubtful? Well, I guess never mind. If he's downgraded to questionable, he should be. I don't know. We'll continue to monitor it. I thought he was going to miss this week, but never mind. Looks like everything that we talked about in the injury videos earlier in the day, still what we are operating with at this moment. I will let y'all know if we do get anything else, though. And, of course, I'll be live tomorrow morning as well, breaking things down. But let me go ahead and pull up these questions that we have. And as we do this, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, you can find that link in the live chat description, comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Russell Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. I know a lot of people are going to want to take Tony Pollard for fewer than half a touchdown as well. But our first question coming out from Ethan says, we need to pick 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex between Lamb, Keenan, Kirk, Tank, Hall, Gibbs, Pollard, Achane. Also, we have Tua and need to drop Joshua Dobbs or James Cook to get Devon Achane off the waiver wire. Brutal spot. I mean, obviously, I'd rather not drop either one of these guys. I would drop Joshua Dobbs before I would drop James Cook. Our 2 wide receivers, we're going to go Lamb, Keenan. Our 2 running backs, we're going to be going with Gibbs and Hall. For the flex, we will go Achane once we get him off of the IR. I will say, though, Tony Pollard is a very intriguing start in my mind. Like, I would like to get Pollard in if we can. Blake says Smith, Spears, Ingram. For Pollard, Godwin, Kmet. Smith to Pollard, give me Pollard. Ingram to Kmet, give me Ingram. Spears to Godwin, probably. I'm probably going to go ahead. I'm probably going to take Pollard Godwin. I mean, I didn't draft Pollard at all. I feel like I've turned into the Tony Pollard guy for whatever reason. Reality, I'm just coming out here saying, okay, he's in a really good offense and he has a guaranteed workload. So I'm probably going to take Tony Pollard there. Yakub says, what should we do with Chase? I think the easiest path for people with Jamar Chase is you probably want to package him with another option and see if we can go ahead and see if we can pivot to getting another wide receiver in the top 5. Now, obviously, I understand you're not going to be able to trade him straight up for a top 5 wide receiver, but there is that outside chance that you could go through and you could take Chase and send him maybe with Chris Godwin and go get Stephon Diggs, right? Personally, that is what I'd be looking to do, my friend. But Patrick says, safest start, Dobbs or Fields? And then should we trade Pollard for Chase? Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Tony Pollard or Jamar Chase, ladies and gentlemen? Spam the chat, Tony Pollard or Jamar Chase. I'm probably going to go Jamar Chase here. And then between Joshua Dobbs and Justin Fields, I think Fields is the safer start given the rushing upside and what we've seen over a larger sample, especially now that we have no Justin Jefferson. But Chase, Pollard, Chase, Pollard, Chase, Pollard, Chase. So it does look like it's split about 50-50 between Chase and Pollard. I'd probably rather have Chase. How I'm viewing Chase, right, is very similar to someone like Devontae Adams, and that he's an elite level talent. He has some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL, but based off his target volume, based off his talent profile, this is still someone that you're probably going to go through and start every single week regardless. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from Mustafa says, 10-team at BBR, 5-5. We have Mahomes, Lamb, Ridley, Godwin, London, Bijan, Achane, Javonte, Warren. What moves should we make? Should we get Adam Thielen? I mean, it depends on the price point, right? I mean, I like this team a ton. I think that you are set in a very comfortable position where I really don't think you have to go out there and do anything, to be honest with you. It's a very well-balanced roster. If you were going to go through and if you were going to make a play here, the trade for Thielen would look like Chris Godwin and Dameon Pierce. CeeDee Lamb, Drake London to pivot over to Adam Thielen. You may get another week of Thielen being discounted, though, because I'd imagine that it is a little bit of a tougher spot to assume a bounce back with him going up against the Dallas Cowboys. But Durag Dillon says, 10-team full BBR 4-6. We have Mahomes, Cook, Brees, Hill, Puka, Ingram, Moore, Rice, Pacheco, Hunt, Pierce, Downs, Deontay, Shaheed. Any moves? 10-team league, I'd imagine we possibly have more upside with someone off the waiver wire than Shaheed. It's nice that we're getting Stafford back for Puka. I would say in terms of trades, not necessarily. I don't think that we have enough players down there on the bench that we can say, oh yeah, you'd get a considerable amount of value by making this move in particular. I think in reality, you're probably going to be better off just working the waiver wire over the next few weeks. But Kufkel says, what is your outlook for Lamar rest of season compared to Stroud? Playoff schedule analysis would be great. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pull up the playoff schedules that we have here for these guys. So I know the Texans go up against Tennessee twice. You have Tennessee in week 15 and week 17. You also have them going up against Cleveland. So obviously that is a very tough matchup. And then going over to what we have with the Ravens here. The Ravens have the Dolphins, the Niners, and the Jags. So I'd say the Texans probably have a better schedule. And on top of that, I personally like what we have a little bit more with CJ Stroud's situation now that you have the Andrews injury, my only thing is you're going to get a considerable amount of rushing upside, right? You're going to get the rushing upside with Lamar, which is why I'd be very hesitant to tell you to go in any other direction. Now, pitcher in it says brutal. Start 3 PBR. Eckler, Jacobs, Swift, HN, Walker, Ford. It's a good problem to have, my friend. I'm going to go with Eckler for damn sure. I'm going to go Devon HN as well. I mean, if you're looking at what you have with HN, I mean, I've said this over and over again. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say it, but ultimately he does have the best implied team total that you're going to find in the NFL this week. I mean, the Miami Dolphins are supposed to score like 30 points. If you're looking by flex rankings right now, I have Jacobs at 13. I have Swift at 19. I have Walker at where did we put Walker here? Walker at 20, so back-to-back with Swift. Not starting Jerome Ford. No Noah Brown. Evans has a brutal matchup going up against San Fran. But if that's Curtis Samuel, then we're going to go Mike Evans and Dell. Pesty says 12-team PPR. We have Hill, Kittle, or Kelsey, St. Brown. Ooh, interesting trade here. I mean, Hill to St. Brown, obvious clear downgrade. Clear upgrade at tight end. This is one of the very few trades I'd say if you were looking to sell Tyreek Hill, probably getting enough value. Ryan says 9-1 PPR single flex. Allen, Kelsey, Chase, Keenan, Wilson, Tank, JSN, Watson, Jacobs, Gibbs, Montgomery, Algier, Spears. Gibbs and Garrett for Eckler or hold since no Burrow. I don't know what having no Burrow means at all here. Since we lost Chase, since Chase is a little bit worse, you're still playing Chase, right? It's just you have to lower expectations overall. So, I mean, it's just ultimately who we would rather have here. And yeah, I think we would go ahead and make that play for Austin Eckler, my friend. Let's go get Eckler. Now, Eminent says, what's up, man? We got offered Pollard and Ayuk for Kamara. We're going to go Kamara if it's a full PBR format. Buddy read my mind, except I was considering sending him James Cook as well. I just pulled the trigger, felt like I needed to do it. Yeah, if wide receiver depth was really hard to come by, I mean, I understand why you wanted to make that play. If it was a half PPR league, a non-PPR league, there Kamara's worth significantly more, so I understand why you want to make that play. Or if we weren't in a position of strength where we could afford to let go of where we could afford to have a player on bye this week where we are in a must-win spot, I would understand in that instance as well. Michael says PBR start 2 running backs in a flex. Saquon, Singletary, Baker, and Henderson. Baker, horrendous matchup. We will still start him at the super flex spot over Darrell Henderson though. So go Saquon, Singletary, and Baker Mayfield. Caesar says Brian Robinson or James Cook rest of season. Now that you have the Antonio Gibson injury, I'm probably actually going to go ahead and take Brian Robinson here. No, I mean, if you remove Gibson from this offense, at least in the short term, Brian Robinson looks like he's going to crush. Jovi says, we got to bench one, Hollywood, Sutton, Nico, or Amari. If you look at the underdog pick'ems here, they have Amari as the player to bench. They have Amari at 42.5 receiving yards. Obviously, I would not have said that if it wasn't for the Deshaun Watson injury. But now that you have no Watson, we probably go ahead and we probably bench Amari. Jared says, do we trade away Chase and Logan Thomas and James Cook for DK and Swift? Chase to DK, slight downgrade. Logan Thomas and James Cook to DeAndre Swift, upgrade. It is a fair deal. If you really needed a running back, you could do it. I do still think that Jamar Chase is the best player in this trade, though. Now let me refresh this. And as I do this, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so, hit that like button for us. I mean, today is day 205 of live streaming every single day in a row. Not missing a day until 2024. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat description comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, plus our rest of season rankings and tiers, and a Russell Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Jakob says wide receivers are Jefferson and Monra in a 14-team 6-4 league. Should we trade Jefferson, Ridley, Waller for Diggs, Olave? So 14-team format, depth's going to be much harder to come by. Going from Jefferson to Diggs, upgrade. Ridley to Olave, upgrade. We're paying Waller to get it done. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and make this move. With Darren Waller, no incentive for him to be coming back anytime soon based off, how bad this Giants team is. It's literally the worst team in the NFL at this point. Now, Brandon says, I'm 4-6. We have Mahomes, Hall, Waddle, Ayuk, Lamb, Stevenson, Watson, Gus, Ridley. And we just sent Jefferson for Jacobs. So being 4-6, I understand the thought process in making this deal, right? I would say I probably in a vacuum still prefer Jefferson over Josh Jacobs. But if you have no Jefferson this week and you have no Jefferson for the bye, while we can say Jefferson has more upside for the fantasy football playoffs, you simply may not get to realize any of that upside. So I do understand you wanting to go ahead and make that pivot. I think once you make that move, we're probably just sitting on our hands from here, and I don't really see too much that we can be doing. If it's a full PPR format, I wouldn't mind seeing what we could get for Gus, but that's a full PPR league. Now, Bidmoon says, Devonta Smith, DK, Ty Chandler, Singletary. We need 3 in a PPR format. And what was the Jefferson news? First off, my friend, thank you for always hanging out with us here. Second thing is, we are going to go with Smith, DK, Singletary. And with Jefferson, it's just that Jefferson not activated off the IR yet. So it's another week with no Jefferson, which is just absolutely brutal when I was assuming all week that we were going to have the guy. Now, Damian says, happy be our 10-team league. We have Herbert, JT, Mixon, Keenan, Amon-Ra, Pitts, Montgomery. Looking to trade Montgomery, Olave, and Dak for CMC. What are your thoughts? 10-team format, love it. You have Herbert. It's not like we need Dak Prescott. Let's go ahead and let's get Christian McCaffrey here, my friend. Now, Chaz says, happy be our sit 2. Javonte, Aaron Jones, Achane, Nico, and Puka. I'm going to sit Nico even with Noah Brown missing. And then between Javonte, Aaron Jones, Achane, and Puka, I'm probably going to bench Aaron Jones even if I don't feel super comfortable about it. But Stafford should be fully good to go. And AJ says, who should we start Achane over? DK, Hall, Kirk, Mostert, or Tank? We're going to start him over Christian Kirk, my friend. Or bench him until we see how the injury affected him first week. Thanks, Mason. Appreciate you, my friend. I mean, my reason why I can't bench him is just given the fact that he has the highest implied team total in the NFL. The Dolphins are supposed to be the best offense in the NFL this week, so it'll be difficult for me to get away from him. Now, Isaiah says, Montgomery, Javonte, Aaron Jones, Pollard, Adams, Hollywood, DJ Moore, 14-team league, full BBR. Which one are we going to bench? Going to start Montgomery and Pollard, Adams and Moore, and then Javonte at the flex. And if you needed another flex, we'll go Aaron Jones. But this is a great team in a 14-team format, my friend. In a 14-team league, that's a loaded up roster. Hola Brown, longtime member of the flock, says, got offered Keenan Mostert for Adams, Javonte, Sutton. Javonte to Mostert, downgrade. Adams to Keenan, upgrade. We're paying Sutton to get it done. It's a league where we're 8-2, 12-team format. We have Hurts, Achane, Javonte, Montgomery, Charbonnet, Lamb, Adams, Olave, Sutton, Taysom. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I am fine to go out there and get the best player with Keenan Allen with all the injuries in Los Angeles. If it's a multi-flex league, then it would be a little bit tougher with the depth matter and more. The captain says 18 BBR. Should we take this? Give Chase, receive Olave. My wide receivers are Tyreek, Chase, Puka, Pittman, and Devonta Smith. I'm interested to hear what y'all have to say. Can everybody spam the chat? Who are you going to go with? Jamar Chase or Chris Olave? Can y'all spam the chat? Jamar Chase or Chris Olave? And let me pull up what we have on flockfantasy.com with the community rankings as well. Olave is at 27. Chase is down at, it's not even close. Olave, Chase, Olave, Chase. So it does look like most people prefer Chase over Olave. And I would say the same thing, right? Because ultimately, when we're looking at Chase versus other wide receivers, we have to take into consideration what's their quarterback situation. Does Chris Olave have a great quarterback situation right now? Not really. Now, Soul Assassin says full BBR. Fields, Barkley, Etienne, Chase, Moore, Thielen, Hawkinson, Tua, Chandler, Smith, Reed, Schultz. Any changes? Thank you. Appreciate you, my friend. The only thing I would consider is starting Tua over Fields. I think this is something you can go back and forth with based off the matchups from a week-to-week perspective. Maybe you could go through and bench Tua this week, given the fact that they probably won't have to throw the ball in the second half. Hunter says, week 11, Collins or Addison, we have Stroud and Singletary. I think oh my gosh. I'd probably go Addison now that we have no Jefferson. Once Jefferson comes back, I think we can change our minds. Now, Lito says, 7-3, 16 team, happy BR. Traded Ayuk Judy for DeAndre Swift Higgins. Phenomenal move. They traded Higgins Godwin for Flowers Lockett. Going from Higgins to Zay, I like, because not only are you looking at what we have when it comes to the Joe Burrow injury, but the Andrews injury should make life easier for Zay Flowers as well, right? We should probably be giving a bump up to Flowers. Ryan says Sutton or Adam Thielen this week. I will go Adam Thielen. If you're looking at Cortland Sutton, he has a touchdown rate that's like 14%. There's just no way that keeps up. Mason says more Jacobs rest of season. We're going to go Jacobs. And how is McBride rest of season? McBride's going to crush. I think the story with McBride makes a ton of sense. Now, Happy BR, who to drop for Andrews' replacement? Need to bring Connor off the IR first. Mostert, Stevenson, Connor, DJ Evans. It's an 8-team league. Probably the player with the lowest ceiling, which in this instance is probably Raheem Mostert, right? I'm sorry, not Raheem Mostert, Ramondre Stevenson. Especially it's a half PBR format. Half PBR formats. Touchdown upside is going to matter a little bit more here. So I think that's probably what I'd be looking at, my friend. Now, Trevor says Robinson or Pacheco this week, and Kyler or Sam Howell, happy BR format. If you have no Gibson, we're going to go Brian Robinson. Huckamorans, touchdown, baby. And then Kyler or Howell, I'm going to go Kyler Murray. Think it's going to be a very high scoring contest. Now, Timeout Sports says, hey, Mason, please help. Happy BR. And need 2 1-1. Ridley, Hopkins, Rashid, Jacoby. We're going to be going with Hopkins and Rashid Rice. Then Connor Ford. Thanks, dude. You're the best. Appreciate you, my friend. We will start both running backs. I really am worried about starting Jerome Ford based off the game environment, based off the quarterback play. But if you look at the underdog pick'ems right now, and you'd be looking at the yardage totals that you have for these guys, I mean, they're going to tell you it's not close. They're going to tell you want to go ahead and you just want to be plugging in Jerome Ford. Cleary says 12-team BBR single flex. Just clinched 8-2. We got Herbert, Bijan, Swift, Gibbs, Diggs, Chase, Andrews with no backup. The bench is Charbonnet, Algiers, Spears, Kamara, Addison, Myers, JSN. Any tips on who to send off? Full BBR format, so Kamara is going to be a little more valuable here. Obviously, tight end would be a priority if we can get one. It's just like, what does that trade look like? I want to keep Kamara because it's a full BBR league. I want to keep Bijan because of his playoff schedule. I mean, if you could send Addison and pivot over to like Dalton Kincaid, pivot over to Trey McBride, I think that would make a lot of sense with the Andrews injury. And also, obviously, in the long term here, we're assuming that Jefferson will be back. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but my baseline assumption right now is Jefferson will be back next week. Hervin says, start 2, sit 1. Evans, Nico, Javonte. For sure, play Javonte. Between Evans, Nico, it is close. Maybe I could go back and forth with these guys. Evans, horrible matchup. Nico, you have no Noah Brown. But in general, I'd probably rather have Evans. Jacobs says, trade Jacobs for Henry and Hollywood. What are your thoughts? If it's a very deep format where you need an extra wide receiver starter, then sure, go for it. It's not something I'm super pumped about, though. Now, Ray says 8-2. We have Hurts, Evans, Pittman, CMC, Jacobs, Hogginson, Achane. On the bench, Mostert, Moore, Kyron, Fields, Keaton. Any trade ideas or stay put? I mean, if you could see if we could pivot off Fields, right? Send like, or maybe a depth running back. Send like Kyron Williams, Justin Fields, TJ Hockenson, and go get Kelsey. Or go send Justin Fields and Evans and go get someone like Stephon Diggs. I think that would be a move that we'd be really excited for, given the fact that we do have Jalen Hurts here. It's an 8-team league as well, so we are typically just trying to sell our depth to get upgrades in the starting lineup. So I think we would look to do that. But Claw, happy to see you, and let me know when you start posting, my man. But Yo Mason traded Olave Mostert for Keenan, win or loss. I would say it has to be a win, right? With Achane coming back in, with Keenan just being the last guy standing in Los Angeles, and Herbert's going to make it where there's enough volume to go around regardless. Like, even if everybody's out in LA, they're still going to be producing. And it's just like Keenan's the only guy to soak up that target volume. Western Conference says trade Diggs for Gibbs, Puka, and JSN. If it is like a 14-team format, 16-team league, sure. The majority of leagues, I'd rather just have Diggs. Ernest says we have Schultz, Delt, Singletary. I don't want to start all three, but it's hard to not to with their matchups. I mean, with no Noah Brown, the target tree is going to be a little more condensed, where I think you can start all three. I think it'll be a high-scoring game here as well. Now, JDB says, happy be our 14-team league. We're 7-3. Starting Keenan and Addison. Should we flex Amari, Jason, Noah Brown, or Calvin Ridley? Noah Brown's not going to be playing, my friend. If you look at the underdog pick'ems, Calvin Ridley is the start. They have Calvin Ridley at 49.5 receiving yards. They have Amari Cooper at like 42.5. So whatever I say, take with a grain of salt, my friend. Because I would say the underdog pick'ems will be a better gauge than I am, to be honest with you. Now, with that being said, I physically am not strong enough to play Calvin Ridley, even if Amari Cooper is going to have some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. So I probably go ahead, I probably play Amari. Frosty says Ridley or Godwin at the flex. We're going to go Godwin. And should we trade one for a running back? You can try to trade Ridley for a running back, but all I got to say is good luck. I don't know who's trading for Ridley. Blake says 12-team, happy BR. We have Dak, Fields, Hal, Kupp, Addison, Olave, Collins, Watson, CMC, Taylor, Gibbs, Mitchell, Laporta. Should we accept Howell and Addison for Garrett Wilson? I would way rather have Garrett Wilson here, right? Sam Howell's not really doing anything for us if we have Dak and Fields. Going from Addison to Wilson is a clear upgrade in my mind. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and make that play, my friend. Now, Jake Bingle says 10-team full BBR. We have Tua, CMC, Brees, Bijan, Hubbard, Keaton, Lamb, Chase, Kirk, Rice, Watson, Jason, McBride. Was offered Allen and Wilson for Chase. Any other moves we should make? 7-3. Thanks, my man. Appreciate you. I would trade Jamar Chase for Allen and Wilson. And then after we go ahead and do that, let's pivot and see if we can sell Tua and Christian Kirk to go get a stud wide receiver from a team that maybe just lost Joe Burrow, from a team that maybe lost Deshaun Watson. But I do think that this is a fair price point if you were wanting to sell out on Jamar Chase. Okay. Now, next question coming out from JC says, 10-team, 8-2. Hall, Mixon, Laporta for Jefferson, Warren, McBride. So, Hall to Jefferson, upgrade. Mixon to Warren, downgrade. Laporta to McBride, downgrade. Eight and 2 roster where we can afford to think long-term here. I wouldn't mind if you really wanted to make an argument for Jefferson. In reality, I think it's tough, and I do think that it's up to you here, to be honest. I think it's up to you. Take Kim, happy to see us, says, would it be worth trading out of Chase, Kyler, Javonte for Eckler? We have Kupp, Keenan, JT, Bijan, Brees, Lamar, Nico, Hollywood. So we are loaded. I will let you know we are overpaying for Eckler here if we do this. Now, if we're loaded like this, you have an argument to be made that we should pay up and we should overpay for the stud. If it is like a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, let's do it. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Let's do it. Michael says, hey, Mason, found your channel when I was 2 and 3, followed your trade advice to revamp the team, and now we're 6 and 4. Hell yes, congrats, my friend. Appreciate y'all you do. PBR, are we starting Dobbs or Kyler when we could go with the Hawkinson stack? So I think it would have been close if we had Jefferson good to go with how good the situation would be for Joshua Dobbs. But now that you have no Justin Jefferson, I would say that honestly, you probably just need to go ahead and you need to play Kyler Murray, especially when he shows us how damn good he's going to be as a rusher. Where I was worried that he wasn't going to run the ball as much coming back from an injury, but no, he's running. Now, Dylan says trade Schultz, Aaron Jones for Taylor. Oh, hell yeah, go get Taylor. We have Kyler, Eckler, Pollard, JT, Mixon, Diggs, AJ Brown, Ingram. How the hell is my record not better? Any moves? I don't think you make any moves here. I think you're in a very comfortable position. I think your team will be much better going forward. I mean, yes, I would probably rather have Evan Ingram over Dalton Schultz once we have all the healthy wide receivers back in Houston. So just going and getting that upgrade there makes a ton of sense. Now, Derek says, need a flex, PPR, Dell or HN, currently 7-3, second place, but lost to the first place earlier in the season. Need a big win. Thanks for everything. Thank you, my friend. Full BBR, it's a little bit tougher, where obviously we like the guy with the receiving volume. However, I will say with how many points should be scored in Miami, I cannot get away from starting literally everybody here for the Dolphins. So I understand if you wanted to go ahead and play Tank Dell, especially with no Noah Brown in a full BBR format. I personally, however, probably play H-Chan. Misa says start 3, Watson, Judy, Johnson, or Hubbard. Full BBR, we'll go with all 3. Actually, no. We'll go with Watson, Judy, Hubbard, regardless, now that Keenan's good to go. Iowa State just scored. RIP. Steve says, Happy BR, start 2. Debo, Ayuk, Waddle. Here we will go with Waddle and Debo. Ayuk's a coin flip. I probably go Ayuk, but we do have these guys ranked literally back to back. Howell, Kyler, Eckler, Kyron, Keaton, Lamb, Waddle, Ayuk, Debo, Olave, Higgins, Ingram, Taysom. Went from 3-4 to 6-4. Gus is OP. Yeah, so with Gus in particular, this is someone that I have a very hard time with in that you are looking at someone that obviously has been absurd with the amount of touchdowns that he has scored. But the question is there any way that that can keep up, right? It's like so hard to project going forward. I mean, ultimately, if we're looking at this team, I think it's a very strong roster. I mean, the only thing that you could possibly do now that we have Kyler back in and Kyler's through his bye is if you really wanted to go through and trade, say, Sam Howell and Gus and maybe go get an upgrade at running back from the Burrow team. If you can get something, we can try it. It's just obviously much easier said than done. I don't know if we would actually be able to pull it off. But a great team. In reality, probably just sit on your hands. Cody says, Kupp or Adams. We're definitely going to go with Cooper Kupp over Devontae Adams now that Stafford's fully good to go, my friend. Now, Sidekick says, Herbert or Fields at quarterback this week. I'm going to go Herbert and then DJ Moore or Rashee Rice in a non-PBR. Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. I will go ahead. I will take DJ Moore. But if you look at Rashee Rice, like, I understand where you're coming from, right? And that it's very reasonable to expect a big week out of a player that's coming off the bye as a rookie. And also, the Philadelphia Eagles have allowed the most points to opposing wide receivers so far this season. Cole says 10-team PBR 6-4. We have Herbert, Bijan, JT, Chase, Keenan, Lamb, Kelsey. And then on the bench, Pittman, Smith, Deontay McBride, Trader roster ideas, Jamar for DeAndre Swift. I probably hold on to Jamar here. And if you were wanting to trade Jamar Chase, especially with a team where you have this depth, what I would probably look to do is I'd probably look to package together like Jamar Chase and Michael Pittman and see if we could pivot over to another wide receiver in like the top 5 to 6, right? See if you could go like Chase and Pittman and pivot over to like Stephon Diggs. Yeah, that's what I would do, my friend. Gage says trade Olave for Kincaid and Ford. We lost Andrews. I would probably rather have Olave. I mean, it's a fair deal. I do think that Dalton Kincaid's a top 5 tight end rest of season. So, I mean, you can do it if you really wanted to. Now, JD says 6-team, have PBR, 5-5. We have Dak, AJ Smith, CMC, Connor, Laporta, Javonte. And then on the bench, Goff, Montgomery, Pacheco, Nico. The waivers, McBride, Dell, Singletary. So it's a 6-team league, right? So everything is about getting upgrades in the starting lineup. What I would love to do is I'd love to see if we could take like David Montgomery and Dak Prescott and pivot over to a top 3 quarterback. Go send like Montgomery and Dak and get to Jalen Hurts. Get to Josh Allen. Get to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you could somehow pull that off, my friend, I think that would be an absolute no-brainer. Now, Michael says, would you prefer Barkley or Moore as a flex rest of season? I'll go Barkley. Now, Ricky says, full PPR. Which 2 do we start at running back? Saquon, Brian Robinson, Kenneth Walker. And for wide receiver, are we going to go Hopkins or DK? And who would you start at the flex? We're going to go with Saquon, Brian Robinson. Wide receiver, we're going to go DK. And then for the flex, we're going to go Kenneth Walker, even if he isn't getting involved as a receiver. Now, Howard says 4-6, must-win week. Start 2, sit 1. Henderson, Nico, Chandler. We don't really have much Madison news. I mean, I'd assume if we have no Madison news, that means we don't have Alexander Madison, right? So I would assume Ty Chandler has the backfield to himself. And if that's the case, we're going to go Nico and Chandler, but make sure you monitor that tomorrow morning just to make sure Alexander Madison's not going to play. Now, Dwayne says 7-3, 10-team full BBR double flex. We have Herbert, Swift, Pollard, Chase, AJ Pacheco, Adams. And then on the bench, JT, Jefferson, Pierce, Schultz, Cooks. And we lost Andrews, and he moves. We're fine with Schultz, to be honest. I don't think you need to do anything here. I mean, we really need to set up that prayer that we're going to get Jefferson back in, but specifically because we are a 7-3 roster, I'm honestly probably going to be sitting on our hands. I think you're good to go from here. I don't really think we're going out of our way to do anything. Now, Yuta says, Frymuth or Kate Otten looking for a higher ceiling. Frymuth has a higher ceiling if he plays both players horrible matchups. Soothing Music says, thoughts on Tyreek and Smith for Lamb and White. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill and Devonta Smith, even with Lamb just being dominant as of late. Now, Jackie says, Tua or Dak this week. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Tua over Dak. Yakub says, I get Mixon, Diggs, Sutton for Chase, Thielen, Jacobs. Chase to Diggs, upgrade. Thielen to Sutton, downgrade. Jacobs to Mixon, downgrade. If we can keep Thielen and they keep Sutton, I would do it. I would trade Chase and Jacobs. Actually, I don't even know. Because the thing is, we're getting out of the Bengals offense with Chase, but we're going right back into the Bengals offense with Mixon. Like, this hurts Mixon too. Rex says, hey, Mason, starting Lamb, AJ, Walker, Mostert. Should we start Brian Robinson or DJ Moore at the flex? Now that it looks like Antonio Gibson's not going to play, I would actually go ahead and start Brian Robinson. Also rostering Hollywood Myers, Scary Terry. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, we're not going to start any of those wide receivers there. We are going to go ahead and just play Brian Robinson. Pedro says, 10T BBR, Brian Robinson or Puka. Full BBR format if you wanted to go Puka, not going to fault you. And then Puka or Wilson. Flip a coin. It looks like Wilson's good to go, so probably Wilson. Now, Xander says Pollard or Kirk this week at the flex in a full PPR format. We're going to go Tony Pollard with just about the best matchup you could possibly ask for going up against the Panthers. I mean, Underdog has Tony Pollard at even odds this week to score a touchdown. Now, Mike says, Herbert, Etienne, Montgomery, Gibbs, Lamb, Jason, McBride. Higgins, Jefferson, Ferguson. 7-3, and he moves. Got offered Adam Thielen for Ferguson and A.J. Dillon. We have McBride. So, yeah, I would go ahead. I would make that play for Adam Thielen. Brutal to have the Higgins Burrow news, but I think you make the trade for Thielen. We backfill with depth off waivers. And honestly, I think you are sitting pretty once we get Jefferson back. Dustin says, Sup Mace, 12-team BBR double flex started 0-4, now 5-5. We have Kyler, CMC, Kamara, Gus, Jefferson, Kupp, Puka, Hugginson, the Niners. Just traded Kyron and Jacobs for CMC. Not much depth on my bench, but what are your thoughts on the team? First off, congrats on turning the season around. Second off, full BBR format, beautiful team. We will be in a great spot in the long term. The question is just, can we make it to the playoffs? If you can make it to the playoffs, I think you should be really happy with where you're currently at. But can we, my friend? And great trade. Ray says, hey, you missed my first question, said two of them. Okay, let me go ahead and pull up Ray's question again. And as I do this, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. I mean, today is day 205 of us live streaming in a row, and it looks like less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, of course, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the Russell Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. But Ray says, I think we answered both these, no? Sorry, I'm just sitting here thinking for a second. Did we not answer these? Okay. Nonetheless, this is the first team. The first team we said, let's trade away Fields and Evans to go get an upgrade at wide receiver because we have Jalen Hurts. The second team, full PPR format, we're going to be looking to hold on to Whites. I think that if you wanted to do anything, though, would be looking to sell high on George Kittle with Deebo Samuel coming back in. Looks like we have enough depth here where running back's not really going to be an issue. Or if you wanted to sell Jerome Ford and George Kittle and see if we could pivot over to like TJ Hawkinson, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And if not, if you wanted to go out there and just try to sell Kittle straight up for someone like Kincaid or go try to get someone like Laporta, I think that's also something you could do. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Steven says, PBR, we got to sit one. Etienne, Walker, Montgomery, Achane. Full PBR format, I probably sit Kenneth Walker. It's either Walker or Montgomery. Walker's not going to catch the ball at all, though. Sidekick says, thanks, Vlog. Great advice. Thank you for being a longtime member, my friend. One more thing. Does Diggs have a good week? Big concern with Allen lately. So, yeah, Allen doesn't look fully healthy. And on top of that, with Stephon Diggs, this is someone that we are having to be concerned about the matchup against the Jets. Toughest matchup you're going to find in the NFL is a wide receiver against the Jets. But with that being said, you still start him. Please don't overthink it. You do want to get Stephon Diggs in there. I think that you rank Diggs like a low-end wide receiver one rather than an elite level wide receiver one. Now, Edson says, thoughts on the trade, Walker Lawrence for Herbert Puka. I think we're getting a massive upgraded quarterback, pivoting from a running back. I like it. Full BBR format, I like it. Now, John Wicks Dog says, badass show. Thank you, my man. Single flex. We have Hurts, Dobbs, Achane, Pollard, Eckler, Henry, Singletary, Cup, Waddle, Debo, Dell, Hogginson. Kyron on the IR, who to start. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to go Jalen Hurts at quarterback, even if it's a tough matchup. But we're especially going to do it with the Jefferson news. Running back, we're going to be going with Austin Eckler and Devon Achane with how good his offense should be. Wide receiver, we're going to go Cup. Underdog has his target a projection of like 13 this week. And we're also going to go with Waddle as well with how good that offense should be. And then for the flex spot, I think we're going to go back over to running back. We'll play Tony Pollard and about the best matchup that you could ask for going up against the Carolina Panthers. And then at tight end, we will roll out TJ Hawkinson. Now, Connor says trade Ramondre, Dell, Ingram for Adams and Najee. I don't love it. Honestly, I feel like we are not really getting a discount there at all on Adams, if that's the price point we're paying. Now, Jerry says 10 team, full BBR. We have Herbert, AJ Chase, Kamara, Hall, Goddard, Waddle, Jones, Javonte, Russ, Sutton, Kincaid, Hunt, Kyron. Sent Hall, Sutton, Kyron for Eckler, DK, Reed. What are your thoughts? First off, congrats on being 10-0, my friend. Really happy for you. Hall to Eckler, big-time upgrade. Sutton to DK, big-time upgrade. We paid Kyron Williams to get it done. It's a 10-team league where we have plenty of depth, and looks like Javonte's coming on. Love the move. Love to see it. Great trade, my friend. Hunter says Chiefs defense or a streamer. If a streamer, what team? I would rather stream a defense. I don't want to drop the Chiefs defense, though. If it would come down to having to drop the Chiefs defense, if you don't have an easy drop elsewhere, I would just look to hold on to them. Now, streaming defensive options. Buffalo, great matchup, but they're probably already rostered. Dallas, great matchup, but they're definitely already rostered. If you wanted to get sneaky and maybe go with the Jags, Dolphins, Lions, Chargers. I mean, those are teams with good defensive matchups. Mike says trade Adams, White, and Rice for Lamb. We have Tyreek and Jefferson. 10 team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Yes, let's do it. Fernando says Wilson or Smith, full PBR. Probably Wilson now that he's good to go. I will say Smith is in a really good spot with the Goddard injury. Bino says my team's Tua, Hall, Mixon, Barkley, Puka, Smith, Thielen, Ingram. Full BBR was offered Mahomes and Pacheco for Tua, Barkley, Thielen. We're 7-3. So Tua to Mahomes, clear upgrade on the Mahomes side. Barkley to Pacheco, give me Barkley, Thielen. We're paying Thielen. If we can remove the running backs from this, I would trade Tua and Thielen for Mahomes. To also downgrade, add Barkley to Pacheco in a full PBR format in particular, probably a little bit too much, but it's somewhat close. Now, the legit ECAS says 12-team PBR, 6-4. We have Hurts, HN, Montgomery, Chase, Kirk, Ingram, Ford. And then on the bench, Addison, Madison. Trade HN, Chase, Addison for Kamara, Jefferson, Sutton, or stay. Happy BR format, HN and Kamara. Maybe a slight upgrade. Not like a full PPR league, though. Chase to Jefferson. Give me Jefferson. Addison to Sutton. Up to you. I think you can make this move. It would be a no-brainer if it's a full PPR format. Half PPR, it's a little bit tougher, though. But Jim coming out with the donation. Thank you, my friend. And I think that should be about it for this live stream. We will be live tomorrow morning as well, answering all your questions. So really hope we get to see you out tomorrow. If not, I'm wishing you the best of luck for your games tomorrow. We are 1 like away from hitting 300 likes on the stream, so it'd be awesome if you could go down there and hit that like button. But thank you so much for spending your Saturday night with me, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, of course, you can find that link in the live chat description comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season rankings and tiers, and a Russell Wilson special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great night, and I really hope I get to see you out tomorrow morning.